agenda and late.
I moved.
Director Facio, Amundsen. Thank you. Those in favor, contrary, carried.
Item 3.1 is the draft Fraser Valley Regional Hospital District Board meeting minutes of June 29th, 2022.
So moved.
Move, Director Lum, Director Horn. Those in favor, contrary, carried.
Moving down to reports from board directors.
Anyone? Seeing none. Okay, Director Horn.
Like I get used to having a microphone. Out of UBCM, as I'm sure many other communities had the opportunity, Mission had a chance to sit down and speak with the Minister of Health. And I'll abbreviate my comments and say I think that we may wish to put it on the agenda at a future meeting that speaking about long-term care options and so forth, it would be wise for, I think, the hospital district to arrange a meeting with the ministry to perhaps share information and come to a mutual understanding of the state of affairs.
Thank you. I think that's a good idea. Staff, I'm sure will take care of that for us, arrange that. Any late items? Question period? Sorry, Ms. Kinnaman.
It's quite all right. It's all quite all right, Chair Pranger. We'll just turn things over to our corporate officer, Jamie Vendas.
Good evening. So we have one member of the public with us tonight. I don't know if our one member has any questions relevant to the hospital district. No, we do have one member of the public joining us by Zoom tonight. This would be your opportunity to ask a question relevant to the hospital district agenda. Just hit your raise hand function should you have a question. And it would appear they do not have a question and we can move on.
So looking for a resolution to close the meeting.
So moved.
Director Facio and Director Clute, those in favor, contrary, carried.
Thank you. So we'll recess and turn things over to Chair Lum.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the open meeting of the Fraser Valley Regional District Board of Directors. Call the meeting to order. The first item.
Looking for approval of the agenda, addenda, and late items.
So moved. Okay, it's moved by Director Facio, second by Director Popov. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, opposed if any, the item carries. Next item.
3.1 is the draft Fraser Valley Regional District Board meeting minutes of July 28th, 2022.
Thank you. It's moved by Director Pranger, seconded by Director Ross. Discussion, questions on the minutes. Seeing none, call the question. All in favor, opposed if any, the item carries. Next item.
Item 4 is committee minutes for information and matters arising. Happy to answer any questions on those information items.
Thank you, directors. Any questions on either of the information items presented? Seeing none. Next item.
Next is 5.1, which is the declaration of election by acclamation, electoral areas A, D, E, F, and H. Again, it's an information item.
Well,
Congratulations.
yeah, lucky you, all of you. Congratulations, though. That's right. There you go. You must be doing something right. Well done. Any questions on this item, information item? Seeing none. Next item.
Next item is 6.1, which is the financial plan 2022 to 2026 amendment for September. There is a motion for your consideration.
Thank you. Motion number 1 is
So
moved by Director Facio, second by Director Clute. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, opposed if any, the item carries. Motion number 2 is moved by Director Horn, seconded by Director Shahal. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, opposed if any, the item carries. Next item.
6.2 is the travel and other expenses policy revision. There is a motion for your consideration.
Thank you. Let's get it on the floor. It's moved by Director Lowen, seconded by Director Blue. Discussion. Director Adamson.
Yes, I'd like to send this to East Committee. We haven't had a chance to look at it. And since a lot of it is related to us, I'd like to send it back to the committee to take a chance to look at it.
Okay, so you are making a motion to refer it to East.
Yeah.
Seconder. That's seconded by Director Bales. Would you like to speak to the reasons why you'd like to send it back?
Well, I would like to send it back to East because, like I say, the electoral directors who are mostly affected by it didn't have a chance to take a look at it before it got to here. And myself, I know that when I look at it, Area B is the most challenging mileage one. But when I add it all up, it's not sufficient for Area B, for one thing. And we just came back from a real life conference, and we all know what food costs. So I think that we should maybe take a look at the per diem. I know that staff said that it's basically the highest rate, but that just means nobody's been first to update it. I just think we should take a serious look at this. We don't look at it very often. And I'd like to see it go back to East.
Okay, anyone else like to speak to referral, Director Lowen?
Just a point of information, Mr. Chair.
go ahead.
I'm not sure, first of all, if referrals are
Yeah.
debatable, but I
So-
just have a question, and that is,
You are correct, though.
Yeah.
My mistake. Go ahead, Director Horn.
but just a point of information, did this get discussed at the most recent East? Is the motion to refer back to them, or is the motion to refer to them for the first time?
First time.
Ms. Kinnaman?
Through the chair to Director Horn, this is a corporate policy, and so it did go through the Regional and Corporate Services Committee as per usual. It did not go to East Glass this month.
Okay, I will call the question on referral. All in favor? Just indicate with your hand, please, and opposed. We're gonna get you want to count? Ms.
Just
Van
raise your
Ness?
hand up high.
Let's do it again. All in favor, hands up high. Okay, and opposed. And we have Director Hamilton online.
So it fails, Chair.
Okay, the motion fails. We're back to the main motion. Any discussion on the main motion, Director Adamson?
Yes, I'd like to speak to the main motion. Like I say, this affects mostly.
Chair
if not-
Lum, if I could just interrupt for a moment. Did we have a mover and a seconder on the main motion already? We did.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
it was
did,
moved and seconded, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
As I was saying earlier, this policy affects the electoral directors mostly. The other directors around the board, they get their travel through their cities. Now, what is proposed, I do think is way better than it was before, but I don't believe that it's adequate to do Area B. I mean, city people might look at it and say, well, that's a generous amount. You got a trip for East, a trip for board, once a week to the office, and 400 kilometers to serve your constituents. So for me, I spend every Saturday, sometimes Sunday, depending on the event, in Sunshine Valley. So every Saturday for 4 Saturdays is my 400 kilometers. I can't go to Spuzzum, I can't go to Bylaw, I can't go to Chihuahua, any of the other areas that I reach out to because I have no kilometers. So I'm starting basically doing what I do every week at zero. And then, like I say, if I'm reaching out right now to Chihuahua because they got a new chief, so there's kilometers going to be added up. I don't see this as a fair system because all electoral directors areas are not created equally. There's alternative systems that we could look at. We could look at in the past. I think it's 2006, 2007, this board decided that every electoral director should go sit down with the finance staff and determine what money to put in out of their area above the 400 kilometers. And at that time, Area B put in, it wasn't me, it was somebody before me, put in 5,200 extra. So like an extra 100 a week travel there. And then later on, when I got elected, I added $2,000 on that as well. So there's 7,200 extra that Area B was paying into travel because of the situation being so large and all the people being dispersed. So I think that's fair, that, you know, we're a bigger area, we have more demands on it, so we pay a little extra. I'm in favor with that. I'm not in favor with of voting in a policy where whoever is elected to this position would be maybe say, I'm not going to go over there because my kilometers ran out. I think that it's a disservice to the residents. They want and expect the same amount of service you would get if you lived in the city. And in the city, you walk out of your door and your constituents are among you and they can come to you and talk to you. In the country, we have to drive places to get to be among them. So I'm just saying it's good direction, is everything. I just think we should take, like I said a minute ago, but we don't want to send it back to the east, but I think we should take another look at this where the whole board looks at it. I don't understand why people who their ridings are in the city, they live in the city, are making decisions that really affect the rural the most. And I just think, guys, that I think we should just take another look at this.
Ms. Kinnaman, can I get some clarity on this? It sounds like what Director Adamson is bringing up is fairly reasonable. If the area residents wanted to pay a top up for Director Adamson, but can you clarify on mileage?
Well, in terms of, I'll speak to the mileage, Chair Lum, and perhaps then we could have a member of our finance team weigh in terms of the ability to have something specific for Area B. If you look to section 1.5 of the policy, which appears on page 71 and 72 of your agenda, it lists out the various ways that all board members would be reimbursed for travel. And so with respect to travel within the electoral area, if you look at section 1.5.3, that would be the section where directors, electoral area directors could reflect their travel to meetings of other boards, groups, or associations, so such as the ratepayers meeting. And then if you move down to sorry, that was 1.5.4, the ratepayers meetings. So the 400 kilometer limit is really just for any other travel that is not otherwise expressed throughout this policy. So I know that the concerns that were raised by Director Adamson, sometimes he presents checks to ratepayers groups that would be characterized under one of the other sections that wouldn't even fall under the 400 kilometers. So really, to just sort of put it very plain speaking, the 400 kilometers is for random travel.
Okay, Director Horn, and then I'll go back to you, Director Adamson.
Sure.
Once, go ahead, Director Horn.
Thank you. Just a further question. 1.5.6, the additional language is an average of 400 kilometers. So perhaps through the chair, we can get clarity on that. Is that saying that essentially if an EA director is under mileage in 1 month, but nets out at 400 over the course of a year, they'd be okay under this policy? I would imagine during winter months, the driving is less, summer months, perhaps more. So just a question.
Thank you. That's an excellent question. And maybe I could turn to our finance team to clarify behind the spirit of that addition.
Thank you, Chair. That is correct. It's an average on month. It's a lot of tracking that our teams have to do, but it is an average monthly amount.
Okay, I will come back to you, Director Adamson and Director Dickey. Go ahead.
Good, thank you, Mr. Chair. So just looking at all the 8 electoral areas, Director Adamson's area would seem to be somewhat anomalous in that it is spread out over a much larger geographical area, and there's little satellite communities. I'm just curious, maybe through to our finance staff, whether we could create an anomaly that perhaps he had a 600-kilometer allowance and the rest was stayed at 400.
Miss Canneman?
Thank you, Chair. And I do apologize. I realized that I didn't follow up on the other part of the question, was whether there could be a specific budget within the electoral area B specific budgets for travel to accommodate for some of this excessive travel. So perhaps Ms. Lonsborough could speak to both of those items.
Ms. Lonsborough?
Thank you for the question. Yes, I believe we could do that. All of the, Ms. Klein's let me know that all of the coding goes to our electoral area admin. We could itemize that as being for electoral area B, and it would be additional administration work for us to track it though, because these are all manually tracked expenses, so extra time and administration for us, but it probably could be done.
Okay, and so there's flexibility within the policy as it's presented then. Is that what I'm hearing?
Pardon me, we could do that for the 600 but we would have to amend the policy to state that for electoral area B.
Okay, Director Lowen?
Thank you. Assuming, from what I hear, assuming not all electoral area directors use their quota for average 400 kilometers per month, is it less work for staff if there's an accumulated average for the entire body of EAs, so that they average out to 400 times however many EA directors there are per month, and so that one may use only 200 in a given month, whereas some may use more, like 500 or 600 kilometers. I don't know. Is that less work or is that equally
Ms.
as
Kinnaman?
complicated?
Through the chair to Director Lowen, and I will have Ms. Lonsborough confirm with me, but I think that the greater issue in that scenario would be with respect to the reporting of individual expenses. And so at the end of the year on the Sophie report, trying to track who did what in that scenario might be even more challenging if you were to do an aggregate, but perhaps I could just have our finance team confirm my assumption on that.
I can confirm that. I think our team would not be happy if that was something that with all due respect, it would be quite complicated and very tedious and to do our annual reporting and make sure our monthly expense claims are issued to the right folks, but then the tracking of it, that's a whole other realm of tracking.
Okay, I mean oh, I see Director Dixon. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just some clarification. I think not sure if it was Ms. Lounsborough, just mentioned that the expenses for mileage come out of the electoral area admin. So can you just clarify that? Does that mean we all pay a certain portion and it is already being shared among us? Because I'm pretty sure that I don't touch near the 400 kilometers myself, but I do understand other people have other areas.
Ms. Kinnaman, I think the question is, are Area H residents paying for Area B residents?
Why don't we have our finance team explain the service area for this?
I'm going to ask Ms. Klein to speak to the mechanics of it. Ms. Klein's team works with it closer than I do, so I want to make sure that it's articulated well. If you don't mind, please, Ms. Klein. Thank you.
Yeah, I can answer that. So for all of the specific electoral area travel, it falls under our electoral area admin budget. However, each travel line is taxed to the specific electoral area. So no electoral H taxpayer is paying for electoral area B travel.
Perfect. Okay. So satisfactory. Okay. Director Horn, go ahead.
Sorry for a second time, but a suggestion. And I think perhaps if the motion carries this evening, it's still a possibility for East to deal with the question of area specific, so we call it SUR funds if there's an opportunity for them to do as Director Dickey suggested, and just a question to you, Mr. Chair, is there any reason why we couldn't move this evening and ask East to look at individual catchments at an upcoming meeting?
Ms. Kinnaman, I mean, I think the end result would be bringing the travel expense bylaw back before the board.
Yes,
I could be
you're
wrong.
correct, Chair Lam. I think that by passing the policy tonight, you've set these parameters in place. And so to come back after the fact with respect to individual areas, it would just be contrary to the policy.
The only thing I can think of, Ms. Kinnaman, is if we added a line in the policy that included and further that any electoral area director that exceeds the allotted kilometers have the opportunity to top up with their own electoral area funds. But I'm a little unsure on just making those kind of changes on the fly, what the unintended consequences are. So.
Yes, I guess I would ask Ms. Lonsborough if she has any suggestions. I think perhaps the earlier suggestion of a separate line for electoral area B with a specific kilometer would probably be the simplest and the most efficient, but perhaps Ms. Lonsborough has a suggestion.
Thank you. Yes, I do. Ms. Kinnaman is right. Another category that's specific to area B would suffice. But I do want to point out that the other categories, the 1.5.4 does include going to ratepayers associations or community groups. So those other types of travel do fit in other categories. So I'm not sure how much that 400-kilometer restriction how many times in a year that would come about if the travel is categorized appropriately to those different purposes. Of course, I may not be close enough, and if the board wishes, we certainly could add another line for the 600 kilometers for area B.
Okay. Go ahead, Director Mercer.
Thank you. I think the motion to refer it to East was defeated, but is there any harm in referring this just back to staff till next month to have a look at it? Seems like there's a lot of what ifs and questions, and I don't see what the harm would be in doing that.
If you would like to make a referral motion back to staff, I believe that's in order.
I would like to make that. Thank you.
Okay, there's second by Director Clute. I'll call the question on referral back to staff. All in favor? Opposed? Any?
No. I actually wanted to speak to it.
We're not debating referral motions. I got caught on that procedurally already. So it is referred. It will go back to staff. Okay, next item, Ms. Kinnaman.
Thank you. So item 7.1 is the Fraser Valley Regional District Yarrow Ryder Lake Fire Protection Service Area Amendment Bylaw number 1670. And I just wanted to note for the board that we need to eliminate motion number 3 because this in fact is a service area amendment bylaw that has to go back to the ministry. So in that case, we just do the first 3 readings.
Okay, on motion number 1, mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Director Ross, second by Director Shahal. Discussion, hearing none, all in favor, opposed if any, item carries. Motion number 2, moved by Director Dickey, second by Director Popov. Discussion, hearing none, all in favor, opposed if any, the item carries. Next item.
7.2 is the Fraser Valley Regional District Hatsuk Prairie Water System Service Area Amendment Bylaw number 1677.
Thank you. That's moved by Director Clute, seconded by Director Pranger. Discussion, hearing none, all in favor, opposed if any, item carries. Next item.
No, there's a motion number 2. Sorry, Chair.
Yeah. Is moved by Director Dickey, seconded by Director Blue. Discussion, seeing none, all in favor, opposed if any, item carries. Next item.
7.3 is the Lake Eric Water Supply and Distribution System Service Area Amendment Bylaw number 1678 and Lake Eric Water System Capital Construction Service Area Amendment Bylaw number 1679.
Thank you. That is Moved by Director Bales and seconded by Director Johnson. Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed of any? Item carries. Motion number 2 is moved by Director Dickey, seconded by Director Popham. Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed if any? Item carries. Motion number 3 is moved by Director Facio, seconded by Director Robb. Call the question, all in favor? Opposed if any? Item carries. And motion number 4 is moved by Director Clute, seconded by Director Pranger. Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed if any? Item carries. Next item.
7.4 is the Fraser Valley Regional District Official Community Plan Amendment Bylaw number 1460 to facilitate a single-family residential subdivision at 45900 Sleepy Hollow Road in Electoral Area H.
That is moved by Director Dixon, seconded by Director Dickey. Discussion. All good? Okay, call the question. All in favor? Opposed if any? Item carries. Next item.
7.5 is the Fraser Valley Regional District Electoral Area D Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 1633.
Thank you. Moved by Director Dickey, seconded by Director Adamson. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed if any? Item carries. Next item.
7.6 is the Fraser Valley Regional District Zoning Bylaw number 1638.
Thank you. That is, this is for EAs. It's moved by Director Dickey, seconded by Director Johnson. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed if any? Item carries. Next item.
7.7 is the Fraser Valley Regional District Omnibus Official Community Plan Amendment Bylaw number 1668.
Thank you. EAs again. It's moved by Director Johnson, seconded by Director Dixon. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed if any? Item carries. Next item.
Section 8, I believe, Chair Lum, you have a script in front of you.
I do. Pursuant to Part 14, Division 9 of the Local Government Act, this is the opportunity for the FERD Board to hear from the public regarding the development variance permit listed on the agenda for this meeting. Anyone who believes that their interests are affected by the proposed application will be given an opportunity to speak. If you have any verbal comments with respect to this permit and you're joining us by Zoom on a computer or smart device, please press the raise hand function. When it's your turn to speak, you'll be asked to unmute yourself. If you're joining us on Zoom by phone, please press *9. This will notify staff that you wish to speak. When you're prompted to unmute yourself, please press *6. Those of you wishing to speak are asked to begin your presentation by providing your name and address, which will be recorded and form part of our official record. Please limit your comments to 5 minutes and confine your remarks to the application at hand. Ms. Kinnaman.
8.1 is Development Variance Permit 2022-09 to increase the height at 9311 Shook Road in Electoral Area G.
Thank you. Are there any comments from the public regarding this development variance permit? And Ms. Van Ness, anyone online?
This is the opportunity for online participants. And it doesn't appear anybody has any.
We'll just call for a
comments.
second time. Our one audience member doesn't want to speak to this. No. And then a third and final time, no one online. Okay, hearing no comments, looking for board direction. Moved by Director Dickey, seconded by
Director Stobart.
Stobart. Go. Okay, discussion. Everyone's okay. I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed, if any? The item carries.
Item 9.1 is Discharge of Covenant and Notation of Development Variance Permit 2003-04 from Lands Incorporated into the Camus Indian Reserve Number 4, Electoral Area A.
Thank you. I need a mover and a seconder. It's moved by Director Horn, seconded by Director Adamson. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed, if any? The item carries. Next item.
9.2 is a no-build covenant to allow subdivision at 4222 Columbia Valley Road in Electoral Area H.
Thank you. It's moved by Director Dixon, seconded by Director, this is for all, so Director Robb. Discussion. Nope, hearing none, all in favor, opposed if any, the item carries. Next item.
10.1 is an information item. It's the Hope and Area Recreation Center Summer Day Camp Update.
Thank you. Questions on the information item? Hearing none. Next item.
10.2 is the air quality advisories in the Fraser Valley Regional District. Again, an information item.
Thank you. Questions, comments on this information item? Don't see any. Next item.
10.3 is the Community Emergency Preparedness Fund Disaster Risk Reduction Climate Adaptation Application for $2.3 million. There is a motion for your consideration.
So moved. Thank you. It's moved by Director Facio, seconded by Director Clute. Discussion? Nope. Call the question. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Item carries. Next item.
10.4 is the building bylaw and BC Building Code contraventions at 58510 Laidlaw Road in Electoral Area B.
Thank you. That's moved by Director Adamson, seconded by Director, just check in, make sure. Yeah, this is all Director Horn. Discussion? Nope. Call the question. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Item carries. Next item.
10.5 is the FBRD floodplain management bylaw update and consultation plan. There's a motion for your consideration.
Thank you. It's moved by Director Popov, seconded by Director Mercer. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed, if any? Item carries. Next item.
10.6 is the FBRD Transit Services 2023 to 2026 Transit Improvement Program Initiatives.
So moved. Thank you. It's moved by Director Facio, seconded by Director Ross. So this is delayed again, it looks like. Unfortunate, but I guess some trying times at the province when it comes to transit. But I would put forward that the residents of the regional district are eagerly awaiting these improvements. We've been talking about them for quite some time. Any comments, questions? Hearing none, call the question. All in favor, opposed, if any, the item carries. Next item.
10.7 is the Community Emergency Preparedness Fund 2022 Volunteer and Composite Fire Departments Equipment and Training Application.
Thank you. It's moved by Director Pranger, seconded by Director Clute. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, opposed, if any, item carries. Next item.
10.8 is Electoral Area C Official Community Plan Update Engagement Strategy.
Thank you. That is moved by Director Bales and seconded by Director Dixon. Discussion? Okay. Call the question. All in favor? Opposed, if any, the item carries. Next item.
10.9 is the voluntary cash in lieu of park dedication for a 4-lot subdivision at 11402 Hodgkin Road in Electoral Area C.
Thank you. This is EAs again. It's moved by Director Bales, seconded by Director Adamson. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, opposed, if any, item carries. Next item.
10.10 is Agricultural Land Commission application for a proposed subdivision at 41523 Common Island Trunk Road in Electoral Area G.
Thank you. That is moved by Director Stobart and seconded by Director Adamson. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, opposed, if any, the item carries. Next item.
10.11 is official community plan amendment and zoning amendment to facilitate the redevelopment of the existing gravel pit located at 43837 and 43873 Lougheed Highway, Electoral Area C, into a residential subdivision with commercial and multifamily land uses.
Thank you. That is moved by Director Bales, seconded by Director Johnson. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, opposed, if any, the item carries. Next item.
10.12 is public engagement strategy for Cultus Lake Park zoning amendment bylaw number 1672.
Thank you. It's moved by Director Dixon. Yes, seconded by Director Adamson. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, opposed, if any, the item carries. Next item.
Section 11 is items for information and correspondence. Happy to separate any of those items out.
Thank you. Item 11.1 or 11.2. Any directors wish to speak to either of those? Nope, don't see any. Next item.
Next is reports by staff, and I just wanted to draw the board's attention to the back of the room. We have a new staff member joining our legislative services team, another acquisition from the fine city of Abbotsford in the name of Keely Hill. Keely has joined our team in the last little while here, and we're just thrilled to have her. So I'm sure you will enjoy working with her as well.
Thank you. Welcome, Keely. Any other reports from staff?
Now, moving down to reports by board directors.
Board directors, that'd be your opportunity. I'll recognize Director Adamson.
Yeah, thank you. Yale, we had a barbecue and a band and just a really good time celebrating the fact that we got that fiber optic grant and TELUS was hooking us up. That was very successful. We just got a load of logs from the community forest today, dropped off at Yale. And so everybody's up there chopping wood. We had the jam session on Sunday, went well. And so it's every first and third Sunday, 12 to 4, we have a jam session. We finished last Saturday at the barbecue at the thrift store, so that's no longer happening, but thrift stores staying open all year. So come and see us. Anyway, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Adamson. Director Horn.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My colleagues from Abbotsford and Director Hamilton, I were celebrating after UBCM last week when we found out that the province is ponying up $62 million to help bolster our water supply, largely as a result of the atmospheric river impacts and the flooding that happened back about more than a decade ago. Both claims put our water supply at risk, but really this is good news for us in terms of growth as well. So the project includes 12 wells, and what's beautiful about it is that it's pretty old technology being used in a new way, and it has scalability. So we thank the province and we thank our colleagues here as well as at Abbotsford, because it was a multi-year process. Going back to my first time sitting as an elected official. So perseverance paid off, and thanks to everybody for their help.
Director Horn, how much was that grant? 62 million?
$62 million.
Director Adamson, how much was your fiber optic grant? It was 2 million. Yeah. See, the residents of Yale had a party though. Are you planning on having a party, Director Horn, for your grant?
It's scheduled for October 16th.
Okay. Director Mercer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a quick comment after coming back from UBCM. Like many people, I think here in the room, you probably sat and listened to the presentation on e-com. I did have a follow-up meeting with the Vice President in charge of operations, and he has offered to come out to the regional district and to the municipal councils that are represented here. His name is Stephen Thatcher. He's a very engaging speaker, knows his business, doesn't suffer fools, and it would be worth everybody's while to invite him to your councils to hear what's planned for our area when someone dials 911, because there will be a little bit of a change. There is a chance that by the time the new generation 911 e-com system is delivered to the province, and by the way, I believe we're the only province in Canada that doesn't have the new system, that we might hear the words when you dial 911 police, fire, ambulance, or mental health line. So there's a whole bunch of exciting new information with the system, and I think it would serve any elected body. It would be time well spent having Stephen come to your councils and to this body as well. And if that is the will of, then I can connect the parties with Ms. Kinnaman.
Thank you, Director Mercer. And we've been approached at the regional district side to, well, I've been approached as the chair and in a group of chairs to help encourage the province to make this service a provincial service, take e-com provincial. So I think it's probably very timely to hear from e-com about what next generation 911, but also what the plans are to continue to advocate for a provincial 911 or provincial e-com service. It's a great idea. Okay, just gonna check in with everybody until I go to Director Dixon. And I don't see any reports, so Director Dixon, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have two things. Like first, I just wanted to let everybody know that just on Tuesday, Cultus Lake Park Board had a rededication for one of the totem poles. And so this was something they had approved and to restore a 30-year-old totem pole by the original carver, who was Dr. Francis Horn Sr. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend the ceremony because I was away on a little mini holiday. However, I just really am pleased to see this. From what I've heard and from what I've seen, it was a beautiful ceremony, really honoring to the First Nations people, and the Suwali Council was there, as well as, of course, Cultus Lake Park Board. So it's a shout out to Cultus Lake Park Board and Suwali and all those involved in making it happen. You cannot miss it when you come into Cultus Lake. They've relocated it, so it's in front of the Cultus Lake Park Board office, and it looks wonderful, and I think it's just honoring and respectful of the area. So it's great to see. So that's a super positive one. The next one I just want to talk about is something that is going on in my area that I'm going to be asking some board support on, and just try to keep it short, but along about in the summer, it became very obvious that something was going on in our area that was not working well. People couldn't breathe. The air was toxic and foul. And that's about when I found out and saw that material has been coming up by the container truckload and being dumped on farmland. And they're calling it composting. And the disturbing part about this is the community is up in arms. So we've been trying to go through the Ministry of Environment, the Agricultural Land Commission, and not making a lot of headway. What they're kind of saying is it's allowed. The challenge is one person's activities is now impacted an entire valley where other people live, other people farm. They struggle to go outside on some days because you can't breathe, and it's choking and gagging and those kind of things. So I totally understand that it is not an FBRD issue. We don't have a lot to say what happens on agricultural land, but I quite frankly find the whole thing appalling because there has been no input and appears to be no input required at all from those people that live there and also impacted. So my request tonight is that if there'd be some board support to at least send a letter to the Ministry of Environment and Agricultural Land Commission and anybody else that you can think of to try to provide some sort of support for the residents as well. There's a whole lot of backstory that goes this that I will not get into tonight. We did have a meeting with the Minister of Environment that was relatively positive, and a second meeting with that really got no further ahead. So I think it's time for just a little bit of awareness about this issue, and I'm hoping the board will support
CBC.
it's coming.
Thank you. So Director Dixon is asking for board direction to send a letter to the Minister of Environment and the Chair of the Agricultural Land Commission, notifying them that we are unhappy with this situation.
I will second that, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Director Facio. Further discussion on the letter, Director Horn, go ahead.
Just wondering through you, Mr. Chair, to Director Dixon, has anybody considered reaching out to the BC Farm Industry Review Board, which really is, I think, the tool that of first resort here?
That just got on my list tonight. So yes, thank you.
So I would, I know the board doesn't have as a practice friendly amendment, but
I think that was covered in Director Dixon's anyone else you can think of.
So let's
part
let's
of the
put that
motion.
under the
That's
anyone
what I-
else.
Yeah. I'll just, and kind of following up with Director Dixon, I attended the second meeting with ministry staff along with Ms. Kinnaman at the UBCM. Highly unsatisfied with some of the answers that were provided, but what was made very clear throughout the process was that the regional district really has no say, no control, no authority whatsoever in facilities of this type. There's no say on how many trucks go, how much traffic's there, odor control, on leachate control. There was no referral made to the regional district comment on. So none of that was done. And to what I was led to believe at the meeting, nor was it required. So needless to say, we've got a very, very frustrated group of residents, of Director Dixon's neighbors, and you've got one of the tourism gems of the Fraser Valley here, where the hot summer months, you go up and you're subject to a composting facility. So in my mind, whether it's allowed or not, there are some serious concerns that the residents have brought up that need to be addressed. The province needs to address them. I feel very bad for Director Dixon being put in this situation. Not only is she subject to the odors and some of the concerns, but all of the residents are really looking to her to be able to do something. And really, the challenge is that it's up to the province, and really we're directing as much of this as we can to the MLAs who are in government right now and who should hear these complaints and should be responding back to the residents. In some cases they are, in some cases they're being referred to call the RAP line, which again, in the meeting that I was in, I mentioned that it was very unsatisfactory response from staff. I don't think it's helpful. But nonetheless, this is a situation where the FERD has a role to play in terms of advocacy, where we can advocate on behalf of the residents to the province that they go before the residents and explain to them their rules, regulations, and how they're protecting the residents of Area H when they allow facilities like this. And I believe it's incumbent upon the province, as well as the elected members of the Legislative Assembly, to do so. And I fully support Director Dixon's request for a letter, and I think we'll ensure that it's a very strongly worded letter. Director Facio.
Thank you, thanks, Mr. Chairman. Just a question, Director Dixon. I believe our MLA lives in that area. Has she been to look at the facility and take note of what's happening there?
Have they been in to see it?
As Kelly hadn't been to the facility. I believe she lives in that area.
So at this point, it's massive amounts of material just dumped straight onto the ground. To my eye, and I have seen it, it looks like garbage, full of plastics, full of stuff like that. Then it is churned up a process and put through a grinder, and all that stuff is turned up smaller, and that's considered a finished product. So she has seen it from a little bit of a distance, but as far as I know, she hasn't been on the actual site.
Well, besides which I endorse the letter as well, I think the MLA should be taken to the site and look at it and let it move forward with the Environment Minister in Victoria. Start the process that way. And if that doesn't work, get yourself onto the ferry and over to Victoria and speak to the Environment Minister. You've got to hit them hard.
We did speak with the Minister of Environment last week.
But you'll probably get a bit more time if I personally I found if you go to Victoria and make an appointment, that you will have more time to speak to these people. And but I think the MLAs should should look at the site and take a report back to Victoria with her. That's just my comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Director Pranger?
Just on a lighter note, I'm very grateful for very
Actually, I
success.
think we have to vote on this
Oh,
motion,
sorry.
Director Pranger. I'm sorry
We will
about that.
vote.
We'll deal with this piece of business and then I want to hear about the success. No other comments on the motion, send the letters. So I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed, if any, the item carries. Director Pranger.
Thank you. Just want to report on a very successful Agassiz Fall Fair. We had pandemics. We had a rain out last year. This year with the forecast was for 90% chance of rain with 0. So everyone was pretty excited to see the success and want to thank all of the people who participated, including members of this board. Thank you so much.
Director Pranger, I do have one question. And it's maybe a rumor. Did the fall fair actually run out of corn at one time?
They
Like to set the record
they-
straight here,
yeah.
okay?
Yeah, but we didn't run out of goat milk.
Okay,
Oh, what a surprise.
thank you, Director Pranger. Director Mercer.
Best part of this story though, Mr. Chair, is that although they ran out of corn, we understand that people from Vancouver were filling their trunks in the back of their truck with cattle corn and looking to have a good supper tonight.
I hope they enjoyed.
All right, I don't see any other reports from directors, so I'll just quickly do an update. So at the UBCM this past week, as you will know, the regional district brought forward a number of resolutions to the assembly and they both passed. And so just to refresh your memory, we had an item on increasing the disaster financial assistance payout or the amount and looking at an opportunity to tie that to something a little bit more fair and equitable than just the $300,000 cap we had put forward, looking at tying to assessed value. There was an amendment made on the floor around looking at market value, and market value is what the delegation supported. The main point we were trying to make, and in a number of meetings that we had with Ministry of Public Safety staff, the main point we're trying to make is that the DFA, as it stands, is not equitable and it's not covering the needs of people who are in their greatest time of need. They're 10 months later from the event, and we have a number of folks throughout the region still who have yet to hear back or yet to receive any support from the DFA program. So it's very timely. The second one was looking a little bit more at the complexity of emergency management funding at regional districts and raising some concern around the fact that we're very restricted in terms of how we finance emergency response in the middle of an emergency. And so we're asking for the opportunity to be a little bit more flexible, and that passed as well. So it was good to see that support from our colleagues across province, and nice to see the regional district championing these important resolutions. Next item.
Next is public question period for items relevant to the agenda. So we'll just ask our corporate officer, Jamie Van Ness, to check our audience.
Ms.
We
Van Ness.
We no longer have any members of the public on the line with us today. We do have one member of the public. I don't know. Do you have a question? Does not appear we have any questions.
No questions tonight. All right, next item.
Looking for a resolution to close the meeting.
So moved.
Moved by Director Facio, seconded by Director Mercer. All in favor, opposed if any, the item carries. We're
Yeah, just give us
adjourned.
a few minutes to set
Yep.
up the room. Thanks.